Hello, welcome to Indigo Goddesses, our second podcast. I'm so excited. I am Lindsay Blue Pixie, and we have our co-host Indigo Ash and a special guest today, Maureen. And her, I was gonna have this just up because Infused Transitions is her business, and so Ashley, why don't you? I was gonna start asking you. I just wanted to a little bit about what you've been up to since I last saw you.
Yep. Me and my husband and my sister packed up we have 4 kids between the two of our families, 2 dogs, and we packed up everything and left our house, found a family to rent it for a few months, and with like right around $1,000, left the state of Utah and seeking warmth. And it has been interesting because the cold front came through as soon as we left. And we've just been chasing warmth, and everywhere we get, it gets bitter cold. And so we just keep hearing like divine timing, inevitable that we just like go through a cold patch and then we'll get some good warmth. It's a little freaky because we're pretty much out of money. It's crazy. And we had initially started thinking we are going to go international. And I think that's probably what we're all feeling, is that we're just going to sell everything we own and fly to Belize, because Florida's just not what we were hoping for. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at.
That's awesome. So you're just go for it and go to Belize. I love it. That's wonderful.
And we feel like God is telling us to go. So it is just like the weirdest thing to feel like you're just supposed to leave everything you have and get out. And we just feel like we're leaving the system and finding something new,
Going to your divine purpose. It's a scary thing to just do that, but that's awesome. And I know from personal experience, when you take big risks and follow our heart, you have big rewards. So I'm very excited. So today, just talking about stuff going on, and divine timing is something I have been wanting to share because it is such a huge thing, when letting go of what we think we should do, where we should go, what someone else is telling us, and really go within and listen and just leap of faith, go to the path that you feel is the best. And I've been down to, yesterday I was down to $20, and suddenly or 2 days ago, suddenly lady she's like, do you want to work tomorrow? And I was like, yes I do. So I started at this new crystal shop where I'm going to be renting a space to do all of my works, as well as helping out her. And it feels like this, and it was so divine timing. It was just the time I needed it, just the time, and everything was up in the air. And suddenly this girl came in, and I have an appointment today. I'm so excited. And I will have heat tomorrow, so that is that's exciting. Yay. I'm propane, so it's awesome. And I live in a beautiful house, and it's just, or a beautiful place, that my friend's trailer that just happened. And it's the universe is leading me towards my purpose and training me for what's to come. Everything is a lesson, and everything that has happened was to train me and is training me for the higher purpose. And like I feel that, and it's very interesting. Maureen, what have you been up to? Or I'd love to hear a little bit more about what, like, you've given me treatments and they have been wonderful, but like I don't know that I could describe what it is you do.
Well, first, thank you guys for inviting me to come on here, because I think that's just amazing. And Ashley, it's awesome to meet you. I heard a lot about you, so it's nice to meet you. As far as what I do, as you said, my business is infused transitions. And if people want to check that out, they can go to the website. But it is kind of hard to pinpoint what I do, only because I have some set things I do. As you know, I have, the step 1, step 2 that I have everyone go through before we go into what I call organic sessions. And in essence, I think the best way to sum it up would be, my focus is about helping people get to their best aligned place of who they truly are at soul level, which often looks very, very different than who we have been throughout our life, right? So far. I do services first to clear out, and what truly isn't us, and help us to get connected with our true higher self. That's our step 1. Step 2 is about clearing out all the garbage that is just ready for release, that we've been carrying for lifetimes. And most of us aren't even aware that we have so much that we've been carrying. And like I said, then it comes down to, okay, let's focus on this, that, or the other. So it really is, it's about getting you in alignment. It's about, I say, catapulting you forward and catapulting you home, because it's home is your true inner self of who you are. And that is a true connection between yourself, your higher self, your soul self, and God, source, spirit, whatever that is for you. So, I do my work by being connected with God, source, I say higher self, utmost high, and your higher self, to just truly shift and move things. And when I'm working multidimensionally. So it's not just working on this you, it's on all the yous. Does that make sense?
Yes. It
That
is
sounds
wonderful.
That sounds amazing. Seriously, like one of the coolest things I've heard in a long time.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. It's been interesting because, like, as I work on myself, and I've had a few different people say that they've noticed, once we've been doing work for a while, they start to actually connect with and meet some of their other selves in other dimensions and other realities. Sometimes it's because they've come forward and now they understand that there's that connection, right? And that communication can take place. So maybe one of that person from another dimension will come in and specifically say, hey, I need this, or I'm looking for that. And we can work on that. And it's been pretty mind-blowing.
I know when you did mine, like the first session, like I felt lighter. Like it really, physically I felt lighter. And it was interesting because a few things came up and some flow happened. And then kind of for the second session, it was like, and in fact, synchronistically, the treatment I'm doing today is what you helped unlocked by that clearing and doing that. Like I created this new energy work, and I've done it on Ashley and her sister and her husband, and so it's my first. I'm so excited to do it today, and it's this amazing treatment, and it helped unlock almost like a potential I didn't even see, like all this knowledge I had and then putting it together as a new treatment that specifically I can do. I mean, other people can do it, but like that it
You
was,
have a forte for that.
yes, yes. And I was like, that is just amazing. And it, fine tuning it and, anyway, it was very helpful.
It is really amazing to see what comes about once we've cleared off that huge chunk. And again, as you know, as I told you, there's literally a list, front and back of, legal paper and all this of these different things that I address in that step too. But it's amazing how much energetic space it frees up when we finally can let go of all of that. And like you said, there's now finally space for potential. There's finally space for those synchronicities to come in. And before, it could be that maybe they were trying to come in, but they just weren't able to get there because there was already just so much heavier energies there taking up all of that space. So it really has been amazing to witness that in so many people. And there's some people that maybe I don't ever hear from them again, but it's amazing because I hear about them through other things, and it's like it's just so beautiful to see how much their life has changed. And I've had people who they'll go through a session, and I've had it from one polarity to the other, where people will be doing the whole thing, and then there's people who will fall asleep and they're snoring away. And or people who will say, oh my gosh, I felt, and they'll list all these things, and other people who will say, I didn't notice anything. And it's funny, the people who don't notice anything, then when I talk to them again the next time, they'll be like, oh yeah, it's been really funny because this happened and this happened and this happened. And I'm like, but do you see how before you said this never happens and this never happens and this never, oh, so you know what I mean? It's different for everybody, but it is amazing to watch how it shifts. And it's pretty cool watching people communicate. And even for myself, the other yous coming through and having that communication it's a very beautiful thing on top of being mind-blowing.
Definitely. That's awesome.
That,
Thank you for sharing
that's
that.
really cool. Yeah. I was gonna say, this morning, Becky and I were talking about how Lindsay and I recently were talking, and Lindsay had said, your higher self, you are your higher self in some instances. And I felt the young Ashley recently asking for help. And I keep feeling like these moments where I just pause and I go back in time and I'm like, you're okay. Everything works out in the end. You're safe. Everything's fine. And just sending that love across the time. And I haven't really thought about sending it to the other dimensional Ashleys, but that's
Right.
something I'm going to start doing.
Yeah.
Because that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is amazing to know that how we work on ourselves here in this dimension or in any other dimension has a rippling effect on all of us, on all of the yous, all of the me's. So, and I think, and this is just my personal opinion, I feel like that the potential to do this is stronger now more than it ever has been, because we are becoming more and more people are becoming awakened, but we're also humming at a much higher vibration than we used to be. And the higher we go in that vibration, I feel like not only do we pick up on that stuff more, but we release the limits and the boundaries that we put on ourselves of what's possible.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Because this has been something I've been thinking about a lot. Let me tell you a vision I had. I had seen Christ, and I know a lot of people just think he's like a ascended master or whatever, but I actually do believe that he paid for our karmic debts to help us leave this prison planet. That's kind of where I'm at. But I saw the flower of life unfolded, and the center, he was so close to stepping into the center of the flower of life. And the sense I got is that all of the rings outside of that central area are all the multidimensional aspects of ourselves.
Mhm.
And that all at once, all at one time, we are becoming whole ascended masters. And that at one point, when he gets to the middle, like all of our souls coalesce into ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, so all the bits and pieces of Ashley come together. And it's like I have learned so many lessons from all around, you know what I mean? Like all those multi dimensions all come together in one point, and we become like our fifth dimensional people, or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Something I keep wondering is there a prime Ashley? Like the one, you know, like the part of me that needs all of this information and knowledge to come in, that's a little bit more aware of everything going on? Or is it literally just millions of Ashleys, or billions or quadrillions or whatever, all out there, all feeling like they're the prime? And do you know what I mean? Like, and I don't know why it would be important to understand this, but I feel like there is a part that needs to know this part. Like, because I would imagine that every part of me feels like the main part. You know what I mean?
Right.
But does
Well,
that make sense? Like, I don't know why it feels important, but I'm curious what you think. Like, is there one that is a little bit more aware or connected than all the others?
well, this is, I guess to me, I totally get what you're saying. And I guess to me, when I sit and I think about that, um, I feel almost like, yes, there is one that is a primary, if you will. But I also feel like there's the possibility for that to shift and switch between the different yous. Does that make sense? Because like for instance, for me right now, maybe this me is the one who's taking the lead to do all the work that I do for all of the me's, right? And so for right now, I'm the one that's in the lead. I'm the primary one of all the me's. But because I don't know all of the me's that are out there, I mean, yes, I've had experiences with various ones, but I know that I have not had experiences or know of all of them. But maybe one is going to be exposed to something because of the work I'm doing here. Maybe one of those me's is going to be exposed to something that is just like, whoa, now that one is the primary, because whatever they just learned or just healed or just released or cleared or brought in, maybe that's going to shoot them up into being the primary, because now they have gained a wisdom that they'll impart on the rest. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. A lot
Yeah.
of sense, and very important. I don't know. So what brought you into doing this work? Like, what was there one moment that was like super important for you to start doing it?
Oh, good Lord. That's a loaded question. I think that what brought me to it was a culmination of my entire lifetime so far. And I would actually even go even farther than that and say many lifetimes have finally brought me to this place. In the smallest nutshell I can think of to say it, in this particular reality, from conception to my birth, throughout my childhood, I was in a very hostile, angry, violent, abusive type of environment. And at the same time, I always knew that I was I saw things differently, I perceived things differently, I felt differently than my family. And that didn't go over well. um, you know, and then I ended up marrying somebody who I thought I was really careful to make sure that, you know, I would not repeat the cycles. And I ended up finding out literally through a mistaken identity. It was like a normal life. Everybody thought, you know, this person was just so fantastic and great, and you know, we did, and the kids, myself, etc., right? And then literally through mistaken identity, somebody came up and said something to me that I wasn't supposed to know, and it was suddenly like stepping into an action trauma drama movie that went on for several years. And throughout that process though, and as crazy as it may sound, I feel like if I wouldn't have gone through that, I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't have had my awakening. And I wouldn't give this up for anything. But through that process, I literally started having what I refer to as my Jesus moments. Um, I had a few in-body experiences, like literally had Jesus come in, and it was crazy. It took me a while to wrap my head around that, but yeah, that really happened. And it was just, yeah, so it's just been this constant, and since that happened, there has been just a consistent moving through and becoming more and more aware, and learning that those things that I used to see or hear as a child were real. And when I would ask about it, I was always told, you know, well, we don't talk about that, or we don't do that, or people like us don't, you know. So I put that stuff away because I was made to feel like it was not something good. But through all of this, I've learned, oh, okay, so I really did know what I was talking about back then as a kid, you know. Um, so it's been a process. I can't say it's just been like, oh, I'm awake and everything is different. It's, you know, you get what you can handle. Right. And so it's just been a process of little by little, more and more being added and more being released. And so it's been a process.
That's very cool.
Yeah. I feel like everybody I know so far has always had mm, pivotal moments that brought them to their awakening. Not a moment, but moments that brought them to their awakening, and then continued to progress them through.
A little bit further each time, just different pieces of the puzzle, different keys and different unlocking. It's really interesting listening to you guys talk about the higher selves. I think about this a lot too. I feel like I think about time, like time is an ocean and everything is happening at the same time. It's not linear. It's an ocean of, and there's ripples of past, future, and everything in there. And I was thinking about like what Ashley said, like I will have like a deja vu, and I'm like, I remember this dream that I had, and like this, like I send messages to my past self. And so I started doing the same thing Ashley did, just like I would hear it, or like it's okay, like you're gonna be okay, like because I know that I was sad in the past, like it's okay, like it works out. And I feel like the echoes have been louder almost, like I actually feel like I feel the energy of alternate timelines, like it, like and visions, and like no, I know that this happens, and then it doesn't, and I'm like, this is really weird. um and so I'm like, okay, and I'm like, well, I am striving, like I say, you know, my highest and best. And so I think wherever we are in the moment is where we are, and our other selves is past, future, knowing about this moment because we're in the future, or in the past we know about the past, but there is that echo. And so we all are the dominant one, if you will say, but it is whoever we are at that moment, and we're at different levels in the understanding.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't that's I it's weird to think about several several yous out there, you know, like, but you're like, okay, but I am a totally, like, literally every 7 years, our bodies totally different. Like the cells are all rejuvenated. And so like like you're literally a different person every 7 years, and the growing and stuff. And it's like finding the keys and talking to other people is, and um with discussing these things is how we figure it out, you know, like um
Right.
exactly what's happening. And we're all having different experiences, and it may be different for some people than other people because we're all at a different place
Exactly.
in our journey.
Yeah. I was gonna say about the deja vu thing. So years ago, I don't remember if somebody had said this or if I read it or where it came from, but I do know it was something from someone else, right? And I was like, oh wow, that's really interesting. That makes sense. And their perception was is that those deja vu moments are actually moments of where, our higher self, our soul self, right, agreed to come here and experience A, B, C, D, whatever, whatever, right? And that those deja vu moments are just moments that were bookmarked or earmarked or, however you want highlighted or however you want to say it, so that we would have valid confirmation of you're on the right track because your soul marked this spot just so that you would know when this happens that, okay, you're on the right track. And then interestingly enough, once I started doing the work I'm doing now, and I do it on myself, of course, but um, I would have a lot of deja vu moments as a child. Like I dreamed that one of my sisters lost one of her um, pregnancies way late in the pregnancy, and then it happened, and it was years later, but it happened. And then I dreamed that my grandfather, I didn't know what happened to him, but I knew, you know, I had been spending the night at their house, and that grandma came down to call an ambulance, and the dog that where the dog, I mean, everything down to the smallest detail, it happened exactly. But then once I started doing this work, I realized, and there's been a few instances where those deja vu moments have started. And then it's like, oh, it feels different. Oh, but this didn't happen because I'm in the same place and everything else is happening the way it did. And then suddenly the usually a bad thing that I knew was going to happen ended up not happening. And then I realized it was because I'm doing this work, I'm able to literally change some of those things that would not have been very pleasant to happen from happening because I'm doing the work on me, right? So to me, it goes so much broader than that. Even if it's like, I feel like we carry a lot of the frequencies, the vibrations, and the energies of past traumas and trauma from past life to end this life in our own frequencies and traumas and energies, right? And we can do all sorts of clearing work. But if we still have this running around in our bodies and fields and out in our energies, and then we're sitting back going, why does this keep coming towards me? Why do I keep having this happen? And it's like, because we need to go that step farther, right? And get that out of our bodies, our frequencies, our energies, our fields, all that kind of stuff. So it really has been interesting when you said deja vu. That made me think of it, because there's even been just in the last couple of months, I had taken the dogs, and it was simple stuff. I took the dogs out front, and I'm in the front yard, and I see the car go by. That it was a car I had seen, and it wasn't like it was a remarkable car. It was just a car. I saw the neighbor come out. I saw this and that. Everything was happening the same. But in the original, when I saw it, there was an accident that took place. and then saw the cars, but there was no accident. It was just really interesting to see that things can shift. And it really brought home to me how that saying of, no one's an island unto themselves, right? When we shift and change ourselves, we affect everyone and everything around us. So whether we shift to non-serving or we shift to balance and alignment, either way, it's going to affect everything around us. And I don't know who the people were. I don't know who the cars were. It had nothing to do with like me personally, but something somehow shifted and changed to that. And it was just really interesting. And I was like, whoa, that's like, whoa, that's like really, that's right. Like mind boggling right there to me.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Crazy. Oh, Ashley, you go.
Well, I was going to say, when I first logged in and I saw Maureen, who I'd never met, I had this momentary deja vu where I was feeling myself like in Costa Rica or Belize, though. I was like, there's probably an alternate where I made that leap first and went international. We still had this, like, or maybe I'm just on a different, path. And it's really interesting to see, because I like that they're markers telling us that we're on the right path. Like that's what's always resonated with me with deja vu. But I feel like there's a lot of synchronicities just with this conversation today about things that I've been talking about or thinking about and learning about, and then here we are. And I just keep hearing, the more you focus on those synchronicities and markers, the more you'll see. And so I just wanted to say thank you guys for providing this, because it's been a little bit of an interesting trip, and it's really nice to have some I guess the markers saying, yeah, this is where you're supposed to be. This is what's supposed to be happening. So
you were in the right place. I've always felt that it is a significant moment. I have never heard like the marker tabs. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, like that so resonates with me. And like that makes sense, because it's silly. It's normal everyday thing, but of course it is, because we're doing normal day things. For me, it was like I put my purple boot up and then it fell and there was a knock on the door, and then like it happened, but then there wasn't, but there was like this echo of it. And I'm like, okay, but I did say like higher timeline. So maybe in that other timeline, it wouldn't have been the right time, or it wasn't the best time. And I love how you affected, like, my first thought is that like you were in a higher timeline where the accident didn't happen. And like the more we follow those synchronicities and those deja vus, it's like, okay, like I am where I need to be. And they're like little gifts from the universe telling us that, like, yes, this is, you are what you need to be doing. Keep going. Like little, like hope or something.
Right. And just like that moment, it's like when we have those moments, and I'm sure that there's times people will see, what is that woman doing? Because it's like you do a little victory dance, and it's like nobody knows what's going on up in your head and all this, but it's like I almost feel like too, just allowing yourself that, even if it's a 10-second little victory, yay me kind of thing, or just allowing your heart to be happy over that moment, right? Just shoots us even farther up in our frequency and our vibration, yes, but I think it also strengthens those vibrations rippling outward of the shifts we're making. Which again, I feel like don't affect just us and all of the us's, but humanity, people, the world around us. And we don't think that, but I mean, think about the ocean, just as you brought it up earlier. You can have something plunk down in the middle and make some waves, and yeah, it's going to keep going and until it hits something else, and then it's going to shift. And I mean, they can go a long way, so it's pretty amazing.
That vibration will affect whatever it hits. So
exactly.
Thinking about what we are sending out Do we really want that energy to come back to us the way we sent it out?
Right.
I've been even like, even if I accidentally like I say a word, like I've been trying not to say shoulds, woulds, coulds, have tos, and even if I slip up, I immediately change it to what I want it to be. There's a lot of words that don't mean what I thought they meant, and like changing speech is even changing the vibration around you, because the people around you, when you speak with love and everything and with mindfulness, it reverberates to the people around you, and it will come back to you. And the little things, like you were saying, like those little victories, and just I feel like society in the past has really, like, we focus on the one negative thing. Like we had a 99% awesome day, and then we had one bad thing happen, and then the whole day is ruined. And it's like, that is backwards thinking. It's like, oh my gosh, I had the most amazing day and I only had one, like a negative thing, and it wasn't even that bad, because once we start looking at why did this happen, sometimes it's divine intervention. Because I liked this, when a door is closed, it means the universe is opening up a different one. The door closed for a reason, and to realize that there's something better on the other side.
Right. Right. Um, I guess that's when you could go into the whole, divine timing thing. Now, I'll be the first one to raise my hand and say, I suck at divine timing, meaning waiting for the divine timing, right? Um, I'll admit I have the patience of a gnat, and I think that's even being generous. But it is, for me, it is really challenging, and I think a lot of people will have this perception of light workers, healers, whatever you want to call us, multi-dimensional worker, whatever, and they have this perception that, well, we know all the answers, and we have all of this together, and we just never make mistakes. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's so not me. Because when you talk about divine timing with that, and changing those vibrations and all of that, and having ourselves open for those synchronicities, and having ourselves open for that divine timing, and it's something that I have been working on for quite some time. But wording and language is so important in that timing thing. And I don't think people realize how important and how much of an impact our language has on timing. Because it's almost like when we speak on the negative and we focus on the negative, we are literally like pushing that divine timing away from us. And people go, well, but it's divine timing, so if it's mine, it's mine. Well, no one's saying it's not yours.
All right, so now we're in different positions. In mine, I don't know if that.
Oh, not on mine. It's all the same.
Okay, well, maybe it just is what it is. So, Maureen, you were talking about divine timing and being a vibrational match before we had technical difficulties. So,
yes,
the vibrational match. Please continue with your lovely thought.
I was just saying that, when we focus on those negative things, we bring our vibration down, and that can push back the divine timing. It's not that something's being taken away. It's not like, utmost high, God, source, universe made a mistake. It's nothing like that to me. To me, it's just, oh, oops, you got to bring your vibration back up again so that you can be a match for this coming in. Because this divine timing thing is vibrating up here, and your vibration is kind of lowered. It's not. And I think even that sometimes as a comment, people can get caught up in that, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm this. no, it's okay. Breathe. It's all right. You know, we are spiritual beings, but we are still having a human experience. And, you know, you're going to make mistakes. It's just part of life, and it's how we learn. So, you know, it's just, you got to do what you got to do, and you got to do the best you can when you can, kind of thing. And, you know, your divine timing will be yours. It will come. It's just about divine timing. And I find it funny that you know, we had these issues, right? And sometimes people are like, but I don't understand. And I think I just said that to you right before we started talking. Lindsay, is like, sometimes we're not going to understand. We just have to just know that however it worked out it's okay. However it's going to be. So yeah, that was funny.
Faith and
Which
trust and a little bit of pixie dust.
Yeah, there you go.
I
Yeah,
love the work of Byron Katie, loving what is, because like she's like, the only reason why anyone has any depression is their thoughts about what is going on. And so anytime I look around the freezing cold in Florida or the lack of money or something like that, I'm like, it's my thinking that's causing me any distress. And
right.
so if I can stop that thinking, which is why I think meditating is so important, is because we need to slow down the thoughts and get our inner standing, which I've heard that on the Inspired channel. I love how they say inner standing, because it's like you need to know within yourself all this truth and light and important knowledge. And when we say understanding, like we're underneath something important, whereas if we have it within ourselves. So that's what I've been trying to say more, is inner standing instead of understanding. Lindsay says bliss all the time. Like I feel like getting back to the words, but instead of bless, like I love all this. Like one thing that we've been talking about is, at this thought hit me that discernment, and we're so concerned about what CERN is doing right now. But I do feel like part of what has allowed us to connect to our other realities might have been done by CERN, and maybe inadvertently they've started their own destruction by allowing us to reach into other realities and get the knowledge from ourselves from other realities. And I feel like the discern is like to have that knowledge and to separate ourselves from what that club is doing. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know, I just feel like all of this is so much clearer and so much easier to access in the last few years. Like I feel like I try and explain it to my kids. I'm like, the feeling in this world is so different. Like everything has changed so much in the last like 20 years. And like I can just say, like if we're running late to something, I'll say just divine timing. Just even saying that is like invoking protection to keep me on track. And I just keep telling my kids, I'm like, we need to have discernment. We need to separate ourselves from what they want us to think and believe, and make sure that we have our own understanding. And so like when I find myself being delayed by like say traffic or other people's issues, and it's like invoking divine timing is actually almost like invoking a spell or something that protects us. So I know it's a little outside like what we've been talking about, but I just feel like it's really important for everyone to like allow things to happen in that timeline. And I think allowing is probably one of the hardest things we're all learning. So
Yes, yes. I find it interesting because what you just said to me is like the way I or the little light bulb that went off in my head about that was it really is important for us to basically heal our relationship with divine timing. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but for me, that's what came into my mind for me is that when you have had several or too many to count, too many to whatever you want to say, right? Of disappointments or things not working out and, et cetera, whatever words you want to attach to that, it can put this then perception and belief that divine timing is a bad thing, or divine timing is, oh, never works for me, or stuff like that, whatever it is you put onto that. So I think I'm going to run that on myself, actually. So yeah, really to heal the relationship between ourselves and divine timing, and doing forgiveness between ourselves and divine timing, and really build that relationship up to be something that is high vibing. I like that. Thanks for sharing that.
That,
Well, and thanks for taking it that extra step. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I keep
Guess what I do?
I keep getting the card, slow down, let things unfold. And
Yeah.
not coincidentally at all, I'm sure.
Right.
The card, the girl has blue hair, and I'm like, all right. It keeps coming out. I'm like, slow down, like allow for things to unfold, allow, like I'm always in a hurry because it's like I almost like, because I see the future sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
see, and I dream about it, and so it's like I forget that I need to allow the process, and I just want like the result that I see now, instead of allowing and knowing that there's, flowing the work I need to do to get to that point. And
Right.
yeah, allow
Yeah.
the flow of it all to happen.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of divine timing too, because I think many of us have this perception that divine timing is always future oriented, and that's not true. Um, yes, it is true, but it's not the only truth of divine timing, which again I think um, is part of that healing process, um, that would be helpful to bring people to that space of being able to be in the flow with divine timing, whether we're talking about something that happened forever ago, or something that's in this moment, or something that's future focused.
Right. Well, and I was just picturing my younger self, even a year or two ago, who had, say, a vision of the future. And maybe this current Ashley has forgotten that vision. And to allow that divine timing and that knowledge of the vision, maybe it came 10 years ago, but I need it now.
Right.
And allowing things to unfold in their own space and time is important. And I really like that reminder, because I feel like in a lot of ways I knew more 20 or 30 years ago than I do right now about this time. And I've got to just relax and let it unfold within myself to kind of get the information I need. Because I do feel like we are co-creating this universe, but there's also some pretty big evil stuff trying to be done to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we have markers and knowledge of what way to go to avoid all that. And I have felt really frustrated lately because I don't feel like I have access to it like I need to. And so this is just yet another reminder to relax and go within and try and find that information, because I think we have it all, obviously, but it's like allowing it to come to us. And I just keep feeling part of why we're on this journey is last year I just kept having like Mandelas. We had some really big ones, but one that we keep talking about is my sister Becky, her son Xander. I think my sons Brock and I were all in a car, and we were driving on a divided highway and going like 60, 65 miles per hour. and there was a box truck coming the opposite direction. And just as it passed us, like it kind of veered towards us, and every one of us in the car had a moment of pain, sickness, headache. Like Xander felt like his stomach had been ripped open. Like it was traumatic. And I think that in another reality, the truck hit us, and that all of us retained at least a glimmer of memory from that event happening. And around that same time, like we kept having things like that happen, and they were over and over and over. And things were changing around us. Like the mountains were taller one day, or this peak was doubled, or this peak wasn't, you know, and it was really a crazy time. And it was all right around January, February last year. And I had taken a nap, and I came out from the nap, and I said to Becky and Tyler, and I said, you know, the only thing we haven't considered trying is going international. And I have had dreams and visions my whole life of like dark, bad stuff happening. And I never thought they were avoidable until recently. And that's what started us on this journey, is like wanting to be by warmth, wanting to be by fresh water, and possibly going international. And around that time, like we really started this plan to just like up and leave our lives, take the kids. We don't have much money, and we're just like, okay, let's go. You know what I mean? Let's just get rid of everything and go. And things have kind of worked out in such a weird way that we ended up leaving November 1st, which is the date, like we had said. We said like we won't leave unless it's before November 1st, or like, so we decided on November 1st was okay. And we feel like the cool temperatures and stuff are kind of because we left so late and stuff like that. But I also feel like it's the only time we probably could have left. But my purpose of going through this whole story, and I want to cut it out, that's okay. But like, I honestly don't. Oh, the other timelines collapsing. I feel like we're getting down to like maybe half a dozen or a dozen, but maybe it's like half a dozen million. You know what I mean? I don't know. But I feel like all of timelines are kind of collapsing in on themselves. And each decision we make here on out is becoming more and more important because we have fewer opportunities to make mistakes.
You said was awesome. Like the timeline shift, like that's important. Like there's been times where I felt like I was in the 3D and like everything was brighter, or the 5D or whatever, and like everything was brighter, just like the air seemed different. And it was just like moments of when it was the moment I found another life and remembered some memories from a past life, is I was in this higher vibration. And like shadows of different decisions that could have happened. And I think my focus of saying I'm in the highest timeline and like focusing on that high, we're all going to have lows. We're all going to have times where, like Maureen said, like we can't stay in a high vibration while we're like such high vibration all the time while we're having this human experience. We need rest. But like we were talking about the last time, those steps of, you know, our highs are higher and our lows aren't going to be higher. So our lows aren't as low as they were. And it's all a process to being in that higher. And like everything you said is resonated with me, and I feel was very important.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, when you were talking about your lows being low, you know, and all that, and being human, I feel like, how do I say it? I feel like, again, there are times, you know, so when I first started learning this kind of stuff, everybody's like, oh, you need to meditate. So you need to have music, and it has to be quiet, and it has to, right? And it's like, okay, that's not for me. I'm like, you know, I can't do that. I can't sit still for that long and be silent and, you know, la la la. I mean, I suppose I could, but it's not me, right? So it's like you're asking me to put myself out of alignment with myself to get into alignment with myself. That doesn't make sense to me, right? But I feel like I have learned, I guess I should say, that when I have those lows, or even when I have those moments like you were saying, Ashley, where you all experienced this. I mean, the only word that's coming into my mind that I'm seeing is horrific. This horrific event, and you guys were all feeling the echo of that, so to speak. Um, Sometimes it doesn't have to be all complicated like that meditation session, right? It could literally just be something as simple as, God, source, spirit, again, whatever wording you use, shift my energy to a higher frequency now. Thank you. It can literally be that simple. We don't have to make everything so complicated. And I feel like in moments like that, when it's a group thing and you are all experiencing it, it's like, one, talk about the validation and the confirmation, right? You can't make this stuff up. And for two, it's, again, there's that opportunity to say, okay, let's shift it right now. Are you all going to be skipping down the road then the next second? Maybe, but probably not. But I do feel like it can begin to start shifting it though. And I think that that's important too, that when we have those moments, and then to me, it's almost like, is it an echo of the past? Is it a timeline that's collapsed? Or is it that, think of a dartboard or think of a spiral, right? How it just goes round and round, and just think maybe in whatever lifetime you guys were all soul family and together, right? And it happened here. Well, now you've got other lifetimes. And now when you come back up around this point again, it's almost like, oh, wow, there it was again, but I don't have to respond the same way, right? We can have an opportunity to respond differently. And again, that to me is like where that, make it short, sweet, and to the point, shift it right now. Let's change it. I don't have to feel that. I don't have to be that way. I don't have to, whatever it is that fits your situation.
Yes. And I love that because, well, and it was really strange how last year from I'd say December to March, I probably witnessed or could tell that I had Mandela'd. I call it Mandeling. I don't know what it is, but at least 10 times, 10 distinct, very important shifts happened. And then they've kind of filtered through, and I feel like a few things have happened since March, but not as many. So whatever the energy was that was happening last year at the beginning of the year was incredibly different. So it is an interesting time to be alive, and I am grateful to be here and experiencing things and learning all this in this kind of chaotic time.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing that I keep hearing to bring up is I am writing a book, and I've been writing it and for 20 years because I just can't seem to finish it. Although I feel like I finally got the ending. But I've heard other people talk that they have been writing a book and they're literally seeing headlines that correlate to the book, or they're seeing YouTubers talk about stuff that was in the book. Or I did a reading for someone the other day and she was talking about something that sounds so crazy to a layperson, but it's part of my book. And I'm just like, we are co-creating this world so strongly right now. And I just wanted to add this reminder to everyone to make sure that what you're co-creating is light and good and happy, and that we're all bringing our own selves this power of creating, power of creation that's good, and to step out of the fear, because I feel like fear kills our connection to all of ourselves, and to step into that creation of envisioning what you want to experience. And I know everyone knows this, but I feel like there's an aspect in all of us that forgets at different moments, and that perhaps we're being a little lazy with our creations and allowing some bad stuff to keep happening. And I this is probably a big reminder for myself, that this co-creation is needing to be in divine timing, but also, even though we're not seeing it right in front of our face, like, it is being created. And so whenever I think of this book that ends well, but it has a lot of icky bad stuff happening to the characters, and then I'm seeing the icky bad stuff actually being like talked about in the news or whatever, it's like just a big warning to everyone. Like, I feel like it's I've never seen authors who are like looking around going, wait, that's my book. Like, why is that happening in real life? Like, that should be science fiction or fantasy and never be able to happen. So anyway, I felt like maybe someone will listen to this and just needed to hear that, because don't create anything too dark. It's, oh my goodness.
It's like
Yeah.
movie with what's her name, with that she has the book and it's happening to what's his name, Will Ferrell. That's what I thought of. Like, it's really weird.
I was just going to say on that, again, that comes back to the whole concept of how words carry so much weight. I had somebody once ask me, they're like, wow, you're really into this stuff, because there was something, and I don't know, whatever we were talking about, and I used a word, I was like, oh wait, no, I don't mean that, I'm sorry. Because like you, and you had said it earlier, Blue, you had said, or Lindsay, sorry, I always call you Blue, that, we can speak things, we can say words, and we don't even realize that we're using the incorrect word, and that the word we're using is actually self-defeating or has a lower vibration, because we're operating on the belief that this word means this, when in reality this word means this. And people really, it's interesting how many times I hear people use words, and it's like, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, you have no idea what that actually means, because that doesn't even make sense in the sentence of what you're trying to say. But yeah, words are so powerful. And, we read about that in so many different kinds of religious texts. We read about that in people who teach about language. We read about that in, sometimes you hear about those stories where somebody accidentally typed this instead of that, and it changed the entire meaning of everything. And, or you forget that, in the words from Emperor's New Groove, when she says that's a crucial conjunction, don't you think? Because it's like that conjunction can change the entire meaning of the one sentence, and it was one word. But people frequently don't pay attention to that. And I think that plays such a big role in not only the vibration of what we put out there, but in feeding our own belief system.
Yeah, absolutely. And like once you're aware of it, like I heard, I don't remember who I heard it from, but it really resonated with me. They were talking about how words, like, we spell words, that spelling, like we're literally spelling, we're doing a spell. And like bless literally says be less. And so it's like the opposite of what you're saying you are. And so that's why I started using bliss, because I'm very blissed, because that is a higher vibration. And whether that really means be less or not, like, but it's in there. And I want to make sure that what I'm putting out there is because we haven't been properly told what words mean. The etymology, like, that is important. Like,
Yeah.
what the base word means is important. And people, the amount of times I hear people berate themselves, or like, think about, we are water, and like we're 70% water. I think, is it Hashimoto, his name, he did the water and the experiments, and like the vibration in water, and just putting the label like hate on it made the water vibration like horrible patterns when it froze, and the beautiful was beautiful patterns. Think about what our body does just from the words we say. And that helps us stay in the higher vibration, and mindful speaking, and actually thinking about what we say, mindfulness. Because a lot of times we will just be upset, and yeah, we have times where we just go for it, but that, or be upset, and we're all going to cry, and we're all going to have these times of darkness, but they become less when you see the bigger picture, and you feel your feelings in the moment, and then realize I am a being of, I am a magical being. I am this, I am light. We are stardust. Like, our ingredients is the same, we are stardust. And remembering that who we are in our core, and being mindful in every action. And I love how you're like, you're really into this stuff. And it's like, everything is vibration. What are you like, I am into my life. I am into being my highest and best. And when all of us are working on ourselves and are mindful of ourselves, it echoes to everybody else. And it starts with us. And that's how we change the world, is we change ourselves first, and then everyone else follows. Because the
Right.
vibration is higher. And
Right.
people that are at lower vibration won't even be able to be around you, because do you know what I mean? Like, or it's, I don't know.
It's just not a match. You're just not a match. There's like this, it's almost like those magnets, when they're facing this way, they come together, and when they face this way, they repel each other. So yeah, yeah. And bottom line is, words carry vibration. Now, I will say the caveat to that is to keep in mind for people not to go into a panic of, oh my gosh, because the same thing is too of, what is the intention and your vibration that you're putting into your words, right? So, take things and truly think about them in a balanced, healthy way, right? So it's not about, oh my gosh, I said this wrong, and okay, I mean, as long as your intention of what you're speaking is something good or something fun or whatever, it doesn't mean that it's going to be this horrible thing if you used a word incorrectly. Because again, our intention, our frequency of what we're putting into that word, right, plays a role in it as well.
Right. Intention matters. And I think when you put mindfulness with intention, it just enhances it. And if we can only know what we know until we know. And so once you know, and you can actively, don't get upset with yourself. You're unlearning. Like, it is hard to unlearn something. Just, I like to stop and say, actually, skip that. This is the word I want to use. Don't say sorry. Don't be upset with stuff, because we are unlearning. Just stop and change.
Right. And
then it's there. And when sometimes people are like, but then they see you're being mindful, and then they may ask about it if they're curious. I don't know.
Right. What was I going to say? Shoot. Oh, I was going to just say that, and so, I mean, in addition to the work that I do of what I've talked about already, one of the big components of this is your beliefs. And we carry so many beliefs from past lives as well as this life. We carry beliefs that weren't even really ours, but we've taken them on as our own. We take on, in the cloak removal, we've got that constant chatter of beliefs and the mental emotional that's not even ours that we've taken on, right? I mean, belief systems carry a lot of weight, and I do a lot of work around beliefs. And it's interesting because, they say that our subconscious is what actually runs our life, which is usually very different beliefs than what we are consciously aware of. And I just, when you were saying that, it's like, yeah, that's a huge focus of what I do, is it's cleaning up those beliefs so that you can bring your beliefs, basically update them to where you are now, so that we're not carrying around all that stuff and doing all of the old and perceiving the old and looking through those those looking through those glasses, right? That were like 8, 9, 10 years old, or even 6 months old, because as you mentioned, we're not the same person we were then. So yeah, beliefs is a huge thing in the way we speak. And it's just, it's interesting how many different components come together that make us. It's just really interesting.
And we are where we are on our path, and we're all at a different spot. It doesn't
Right.
someone is better or worse. It's just we are all on our path and all at the where we need to be at this point. And it takes time to work through all that. It takes time to do your shadow work. It takes time to really undo our programming. Like
Right.
it's
Right.
one of a friend's sister once said, it's like unlearning your first language. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
It's very difficult. You have to learn to do things differently and to be more aware of what's going on in your surroundings. And it helps. Once you see the man behind the curtain, you can't unsee.
Yeah. 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 You said that, and all I can see is the little guy they had play the wizard in Wizard of Oz. You know, it's everybody thought it was this big thing, and it was just that short, just a person. It's just a person. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Also, for some reason, this just came not being reactive, being mindful in realizing that when people talk to you, they are mostly projecting. Especially if they say something negative, they're mostly projecting from what they're doing, and they're coming from a place of hurt. And by not reacting to the people who are reactive and just seeing them as that being, and realizing that they have gone through all this stuff and they don't understand the higher picture, really helps to not react and to just be like, wow, okay, and just like walking away from that, because you can't argue with someone who isn't in that space. And it's self-preservation is important, and it is okay to step away from a lower vibration situation and even come back to it later if you need to, but not engage and react to those situations, and to find the core of, if you want to fix that, and not not reacting to it.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think being doing a proactive response versus reaction is definitely the way to help ourselves to be able to keep our alignment within ourselves, regardless of what's happening. Now, am I successful at doing that all the time? No. But, but I am aware of that, we do what we can do. And,
None of us are perfect, and some people have
and
buttons they know how to push.
right. As I say, I have a YouTube channel where I do card readings, and it's interesting because for me, the cards aren't about telling the future. They're not about dwelling on the past. They're, well, for me anyway, the way I utilize them, it's like whatever's going to come up comes up, right? But it's more about bringing in that awareness, that understanding of ourselves. And it's interesting because there are a lot of times where things come out and it's like, yeah, see, this is just how we automatically want to respond and do this. But we're seeing that if you choose or react this way, but we're seeing if you choose to respond and go this trail, your outcome looks like a much stronger outcome than if you take this trail and you just want to do that knee-jerk response that most of us, I don't know everybody, right? But for most of us, when we do that knee-jerk response, those tend to be the ones that are like, oh man, why did I say that? Or why did I do that? It's kind of that. If I would have just taken a moment, taken a breath, and I could have done a proactive response, I probably would have come out a lot better. You know what I mean?
Thank you, ladies, for being here. I appreciate all of you that this has been a lovely session, and I love you both. Any
Thank you for
last,
having us.
yeah.
Yes, thank you for the invite. I had a good time. Thank you. It's always nice to talk to people who can speak your language. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. And until next time, thank you, goddesses. If you want to join our Telegram community page, the link will be below. And if you'd like to be a guest, message us and we would love to have you. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.